At my niece's school, there were ICE agents driving by, waving at them tauntingly, saying like, "We'll be back." So there's just kind of an unprofessionalism to this agency that uh, I think Minnesotans, Americans aren't used to for law enforcement. They don't behave like that. There's a level of untrained, um, just a sense that they're not trained at the level you'd want. So really, there is a sense of unease and fear that another shooting will happen.
And William Bornhoft joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you just tell us what the mood there is like at the moment? Because obviously, for those people, watching from abroad, the pictures look awful. How is the community reacting?
Just devastated. There's a lot of fear. Honestly, a lot of just paranoia. I think there's this big march on Friday. People closed up shops in protest. Yeah, about 15,000 people came out to march in downtown Minneapolis in just really cold temperatures. There's a sense of optimism. Maybe we've turned a corner on this. Maybe things will get better. And then people in Minnesota, Minneapolis wake up and there's another shooting, another video, just horrific. So just a really a sense of defeat and just sense of like of helplessness. No one is really coming to save us. This is perpetrated by the federal government, so we're kind of on our own here.
And is that the feeling? Because there are obviously conflicting reports about how this particular death happened. There are those who say, look, he was carrying a weapon. Why would you carry a weapon if you were going to a peaceful protest? There are others who say that he posed absolutely no threat at all to those officers. I mean, how is this being reported over there at the moment?
It's legal he had a legal permit to carry, so he wasn't breaking any laws there. I think everyone sees in the video he wasn't brandishing the weapon at all. They removed it before they shot him. I think an interesting piece of this is that a lot of Second Amendment groups have come out, the NRA, which are certainly not, uh, you know, progressive groups by any stretch, have come out and said uh, we need a full investigation on this. People have a Second Amendment right. He wasn't doing anything. So there's a lot of different ways that people are pushing back on the Trump administration's narrative that Alex Preddy was doing something wrong by carrying a legal firearm and watching from a distance.
And do you get the sense that the administration will have to back down on this one because the video evidence does seem to be so compelling in this case?
Um, it's possible. I think a lot of people here in the Twin Cities are just horrified of how quickly Alex was condemned as a domestic terrorist, someone um, who was supposedly wanted to perpetrate mass violence against the ICE agents. I think a lot of people just watch the video and don't see that at all. Um, I did see a quick interview that President Trump did with the Wall Street Journal, where he said, "Well, we're looking at it," and even hinted that maybe ICE will leave Minnesota at some point. So maybe this one is bad enough, and it's turning the narrative on immigration against Trump, where they might back down on this. Yet to be seen, though.
And how visible is ICE at the moment in the area where you are? I mean, is it that you see these officers on the street on a daily basis, or is it unusual to see them? How many are there still?
Um, it's hard to say. I think the official number that we get from DHS is around 3,000 because there were 2,000 sent, and then they said after the Renee Good shooting they'd send another 1,000. You can't verify those numbers. There's a lot of federal agents here. The combined police force of Minneapolis and St. Paul is, I think, about 1,200, so it dwarfs the police here. Um, it's hard to know exactly. Just the nature of ICE is they drive unmarked cars. Just it could be any kind of car. They wear plain clothes a lot of the time, so it's really hard to tell if there is ICE. It's not like a typical police force where they're wearing a uniform. They have a car that's easily marked. Um, it depends on what area you live in. I would say there's definitely parts of Minneapolis on Lake Street where you're going to see them every day. Areas where there's a lot of either Hispanic or Somali populations are going to be the targets right now.
And is there anything the state can do at this point? Because, politicians there have been very vocal that they do not want ICE to remain on the streets, but they don't really seem to have any powers to stop it.
Not really. The ICE was a creation essentially after 9/11. It basically took a few different departments and combined them into one thing and kind of made them a lot more militaristic. And so they have the full force of the federal government behind them. They can the FBI can claim jurisdiction when there is a ICE shooting. So the state can try to file lawsuits and things like that, but ultimately the federal government runs the show here.
Finally, William, do you feel safe? Do you, your family, your friends, do you feel safe at the moment?
It kind of comes and goes. I certainly feel a nervousness driving. There's kind of a paranoia of like, am I going to see an ICE agent? I know for my niece, they have parental observers out there during pickup and drop off at the public schools. And at my niece's school, there are ICE agents driving by, waving at them tauntingly, saying like, "We'll be back." So there's just kind of an unprofessionalism to this agency that I think Minnesotans, Americans aren't used to for law enforcement. They don't behave like that. There's a level of untrained, just a sense that they're not trained at the level you'd want. So really there is a sense of unease and fear that another shooting will happen at some point.
William, thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.